I am Dr. Raquel Daly, and thank you so much for joining us on the Best Life Abroad podcast. So today we will be speaking with Darlene, who relocated to Serbia, and she's going to share her insights and tell us all about her journey. So, Miss Darlene, thank you so much, and welcome to the Best Life Abroad podcast. How are you?
I'm good, Dr. Raquel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about sharing my journey and sharing information. Yes.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you decided to make the decision to move to Serbia.
Okay. Let's see. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught kindergarten for 25 years. My parents are from Oklahoma. My dad was in the Army, and I was born in Augusta, Georgia, raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After my divorce, my daughter was 4. I sold everything, packed up what I had. I had a box of books, clothes, and a television in my back seat, and I moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, and God has been so good to me. It was truly an anointed journey. Ended up teaching started out working high-end retail and in Beverly Hills at Neiman Marcus, and I worked at Nordstrom a little bit. And then I ended up teaching in West LA. In 1997, California went with class size reduction. And so from third grade from pre-K to third grade, you couldn't have over 20 kids in a classroom. So for Los Angeles, they had to hire, this went into effect June of that year, and by August, they had to have hired 1,200 teachers. We were living in West LA, and I knew I wanted to do something different. I did a lot of volunteer work at my daughter's school, and her principal had confidence in me. She called me one day and she said, you know what, how would you like to start teaching? And what they did, they gave you an emergency credential, and you had a timeline to finish your teacher credential. I taught for 18 years in kindergarten. Then my mom in Oklahoma, she's getting older, and I knew I needed to move back to be close to her, but I didn't want to go. Oklahoma really is on the bottom as far as teacher pay. So Texas was better, and I had a brother living in a suburb outside of Dallas, Cedar Hill. So I ended up teaching in Dallas. I called my mom one day. Well, back up a little bit. I called my mom one day in Oklahoma in Tulsa, and I said, "Hey, Mom, what you doing? How you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm out here in my garden, and I got my gun in my pocket." Now, mind you, at the time, she was 80 years old, and our neighborhood had turned for the worst. Things had really turned bad. And so I said, you know what, it's time for me to go home. So packed up everything, ended up in Texas, teaching at Duncanville ISD. And then it was a really culture shock as far as education, going from California to Texas. And I struggled, but then I prayed, and God said, you know what, these kids need you. And so I was there for 7 years, and then my daughter got married. She married a Serbian. She works online. She's customer service, been doing it for about 4 years now. And she got certified to teach English in China. And then she had her bag packed, ready to go. Zhuhai, she was on her way to Zhuhai, China, and the pandemic hit. And so her and Boyan, they had been talking online. He said, well, since you're already packed, why don't you come here? And she did, and they hit it off. It's one of those, some people say they don't believe in love at first sight and all those magical stories. It may not happen to everybody, but it's real, and it happened for them. And our family, they have embraced us. It's just been so magical. So she ended up there, and then when the pandemic hit, and us having to teach online and in person, things there's all about data, and nothing, hardly anything about children and their emotional well-being. For me to see 5-year-olds that are stressed out, I cried. I sat in the parking lot and would cry, and my daughter saw me crying. She goes, Mom, you don't have to do this. You know you can retire. And I kept thinking, okay, well, I'm going to give it a couple more years. I'm going to give it a couple more years. I couldn't. She had already moved here, and I think it was November of 2021. My principal came in my room. I had 6 emails I missed. Did you get this email? This is due tomorrow. This was due yesterday. And she left out of my room. I picked up the phone. I called my daughter. I said, Iris, I'm ready. She said, Mama, you could come here. Cost of living here, Dr. Raquel, is like 100 dinners. $1 is equal 100 dinners.
Wow.
So that's how my money multiplied. So I have partial retirement from Los Angeles, partial retirement from Texas, and then I applied for Social Security. See, many teachers think they can't do that, but if you haven't been in the system your whole career, you can do that. So I got my Social Security as well. And so I went that day after I called my daughter. I wrote out my retirement letter, called my principal, and went to her office and said, Miss So-and-so, this is it for me. I won't be coming back next year. And lots of teachers, it was a snowball. A lot of teachers were retiring. And you know the story of all across America, lots of teachers. And I listened to the young couple you spoke with from Honduras. And I was listening to their story and how they felt and stuff. So that was me. If somebody told me I had to stay another year, I think I would just implode. I would just, I couldn't take it anymore. So I've been following this group, internationalliving.com, and getting their newsletters. I've been following Black Americans retired on Facebook and expats in different parts of the world, and watching House Hunters International, just watching all kinds of stuff. So I thought I would be like in the Caribbean somewhere, or Tahiti or Bali, or, somewhere like that, or Panama, but God had a different plan for me. So that's what happened.
That is such an amazing story. First of all, it takes a very special person to teach kindergarten. My son is 5, he is in kindergarten, and I'm like, to have more than one of these at a time is blessed you from above, okay?
You know what they say, it's like chasing cats. It's like you're on tactical alert the whole time, Yes, but it was truly a labor of love, and I would have stayed a couple more years, but because of what was happening administratively and the things that were being pushed down on us, I said, you know what, it's time for the youngsters to take over, the young folks. So, So I noticed, Dr. Raquel, you were asking, like, what were some of the things I did to prepare? And one thing I did, I looked at my cell phone. My cell phone is connected to my bank account. So I knew if I got alerts or if I did any changes or anything, I wanted to make sure I kept an American cell phone. My daughter now has a Serbian cell phone, and her bank account is tied. She gets alerts on my phone for her bank account as well. So we did that. I started purging. Looking at stuff, getting rid of stuff. This was October, November in 2021. And so I started purging, looking at what I want to take and what should go, what needs to go in trash, things like that. Looking at my money, my budget, and things like that. I hooked up with a mail service called ipostal1.com, and it's a service that's for people that are in transit, people that live around the United States and they move around a lot, or people that live abroad. So they'll scan your mail, they'll do all kinds of things you do. So it's actually like having an address. I did that, and so being on that site, internationalliving.com, they recommended some movers for moving your things. And I contacted 5. They recommended 5 people. I contacted 3, and I ended up with 1. I'll never do it again.
Oh, now what
And I heard
happened?
the young couple from Honduras, they said it too. Never do. My thing,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Serbian customs, they're the worst. You have an easy time. You have an easier time getting into Russia or getting into China. My things left my apartment in America April 26, 2022. Drum roll. It arrived last week.
No.
Yes.
No. I did not expect you to say that.
Yes. In September, I prayed. I surrendered. I said, you know what, God, it's just stuff. If I'm not going to get my things, it's things. What's more important? I'm here with my daughter. I got that mindset. I kept going. They kept going back and forth with us about the list of stuff
Wow.
we had. Back and forth, back and forth. First, they told me it was going to charge me $5,000 to get my things. So I said, $5,000 and stuff. You know, I already spent several thousand to get it shipped.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went back and forth, back and forth. We don't like this list. No, you didn't do it this way. I mean, for 4 months, we went back and forth. Oh my goodness. So I shipped
Oh,
like
my goodness.
my mom had a dining room set, a buffet and a china cabinet from 1920s.
Wow.
So, yeah. So when my daughter and her husband got this farmhouse, she said, Mom, is it too much to ask if you bring grandma's set? And my mom passed away a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. And I said, sure. But even with all of that, Dr. Raquel, we look back and say, you know what? If we knew what we know now, we would still sell it. Get rid of it and just have 5 suitcases and that's it. So that's what I recommend
Yes.
anybody.
That
Don't skip
I
a
have
whole bunch
yet
of crap.
Yes, I have yet to hear anybody say, I wish I would have taken more stuff. Everyone always says, I wish I would have got rid of all of it. When my husband and I moved, we moved to
Uh-huh.
Germany. Thankfully, I had a colleague who was like, she was a minimalist. Okay. Like get a
Yes.
t-shirt, get rid of a t-shirt type of minimalist. So she helped us move.
Yes.
We moved abroad
Yeah.
with like 1 duffel bag and 1 suitcase, but
Mhm.
we still kept stuff like in my parents' garage. We should have just got rid of
Okay.
everything because
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's so expensive. It's so expensive.
It
And
is.
like by the
Yes.
time you pay for the stuff you sent, you could have just bought all new stuff.
And I could have bought a house and furnished it for what I paid because my daughters, they
Wow.
paid for this really nice, modest farmhouse. They paid $6,000 for it,
Wait, what?
and it had $6,000, and
For
it's
a
got
house?
yes, a stone brick house with a cellar. It's got animal quarters, everything. So yeah. So so another thing I did before we left, I went to AAA. I was a member of AAA, and I got an international driver's license. And I didn't realize how easy it was to get. So it was $25, and I think it's good in like 120 countries. And so I have my international driver's license, and it renews. I can renew it every year. So next year, when I go to the States to visit, I'll renew it and take care of that. Yeah, so those were some of the main things I did, just preparing my stuff, throwing away, donating things, making sure my banking and all of that was solidified. Where was my mail going to go? And if I needed, everything through my banking is done direct deposit, but if I needed somebody to cash a check, who's going to do that for me? And I looked at all of that. Another thing I did, I looked at my insurance. So I made sure I have international insurance, but when we got here, as far as my visa for Serbia, I had to get insurance here. So I went and I got that done. Now, shocker, they have social medicine here. So a month or so after I got here, my son-in-law got sick and he had to go to the hospital. This Serbia is a smoking culture. So
Yes.
80% of the people smoke. So you sit down at somebody's house, you get some Turkish coffee, you get a cigarette, and you get rakia, which is a homemade
Wow.
schnapps. So I don't smoke. So, but the smoking doesn't bother me because they use these simple little filters, and it's not heavy laden with a lot of chemicals. Just and stuff like that. So when he went to the hospital, people were up in the hospital bed smoking. They were smoking. There was a cat walking down the hallway. A cat in the hallway. They instead of them right away in America when you go to the hospital, they know you sick. When they're going to take you to the room, they'll put you in a wheelchair or on a gurney or something. Mm-hmm. They made him walk up the stairs to the next level. Then he went in a room. He shared a room with 8 other men.
Wow.
And they were all in the beds with their city clothes on. There were no hospital gowns and stuff like that. So you can do social medicine, or you can, and that's for citizens, or you can do private. So I had to go to the doctor 2 months ago, and I went to a private doctor. But even that, like, they didn't put me on you know how they want you to take off your top and all that, and they put on a paper gown. They just made me take off my top, and I'm sitting there with no top on. The doors open. People are going by. But okay. But it was good. The doctor was really nice. He was excited to see we were from America, and he was excited to practice some English. So that was
good. Awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, did you have any how was it for you, like adjusting to a country where English is not the primary language?
It's okay. I've traveled a little. I've been out of the country, let's see, I can count 6 times over my lifetime, which is great, and it could have been better, but we're so regimented with work and putting ourselves in vacation last. And if I had life to do over again, I would take my vacations. So right. The language, it's a Baltic language, so it's not a Romance language where in French, Italian, Spanish, you gotta understand a little bit of it. It is totally different. So my daughter's been doing really great with it. I just came to the realization I need to take a class. So we just got a little bit settled in the house, and now I'm going to look at taking a class online. And there's some people that meet, and they meet in Belgrade for little outings and stuff to practice their English. So I am going to have to do that. People are very friendly. And even though for miles, I think we've only seen a Black person twice since we've been here. And no, 3 times. The third time it was tourists that were visiting. And when we saw each other, we were like, hey! But haven't felt alienated or anything. People are just, I hear the word lepo, like beautiful. Lepo is beautiful in Serbian. Lepo, and they'll look. One lady asked to touch my hair. That's always, even in America, white people will do that sometimes. But I haven't, people have said, have you felt any discomfort? I said, no, I felt that more in America from different white people in different places you go that were predominantly white, But here, when they hear us really trying to speak the language, they're very open and helpful. And that's somehow in the Belgrade, the capital city, it may be more of a hustle and you may not get as much friendliness, but we're here in a country town. It's a population 500 in the village. And then there's 2 other cities that are a bit larger that are close to us, about 15 minutes away in the car, and stuff. So language, it is a challenge. So I've been going to the store. I heard one of your podcasts, I don't know if it was your husband, and said, I think it was the couple in Honduras, where he said he was depending on her because she spoke Spanish. And he was saying, I said, I feel you. I was doing the same thing with my daughter and my son-in-law. And my grandson, he's dual language. And finally, one day, my daughter said, Mom, you need to learn how to count the money. So I learned my numbers and counting money before I could even speak. Because when you're in the store, you want to be able to make sure you're not being cheated. And then I started learning the alphabet so I can learn the different sounds of the letters and understand the words more. So one day she said, "Mom, I need you to go to the store and you're going to go by yourself." So I went, I got out my chain, I wrote down stuff. And the people knew me at the store. And we did a little video about it too. And people moved next door, so it wasn't a big deal yet. So I've gone to the store by myself and four times. Yeah, four times. And they say the amount. I give them the right amount. And she said, "Know your money," because she said, "Mama, I got used to just giving them too much. And they're not going to always be honest with you." So luckily, we've been doing a lot of shopping in our neighborhood. But when we go to the big open flea market, that's where they see that you're American and they see us as money. And they'll try to up the prices on you and stuff, you know. So that's where I'm at. Pretty soon I'll start. But I do know basic salutations and the morning greetings and stuff like that, and see you later, and excuse me, and please, and all that stuff.
Oh, that is awesome. So let's go back a little bit, because you talked about, like, you know, through your visa process, how you needed health insurance. I'm sure your daughter and son-in-law helped you too. So how did you figure out the process of getting a visa to finally move to Serbia?
Well, you know what? I'm blessed. Like for somebody who's moving somewhere you don't have family, that's what's hard. And it's doable, but it's more of a challenge for me, since my daughter had already gone through the process and she married a native. That made it all the difference in the world. I just sat back like a retiree and said, "Okay, what? You need money for this? Okay." Yes. So this is what the family has totally embraced us. They have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 4 properties here in the village. So Iris and Boyan, they have their property. And if you marry as a couple, I think after 2 years, the government gives you $10,000. And they want people to stay in the villages and stuff. And then, so I was going to buy a property, but I'll be 65 in April. And so I'm into downsizing. Once I really get settled here, I'll start traveling. Like this summer, I'm going to England, and then in August, I'm going to Spain. And I may go over to Budapest, over to Hungary. So, and these are where I know people. I'm going out where I know people first. But I said, why am I going to invest in a big old property? I have no kids, nothing. So his mom, Boyan's mom, is living by herself on a property that's less than a mile from here. So I said, instead of me buying, I have money to buy. Why don't I move in with her and put that money toward remodeling her place and putting in an extra bathroom for me? And so that's what we're going to do. So what she did, she put, I paid for her to have her property turned over to me. So my name is on her property. And that gave me a year with my visa. And then after that, I forgot the process. But here in Serbia, you can get a visa by buying property or starting a business. Now, the starting the business is more difficult because you got to understand the tax structure. So you need an accountant. You also need a lawyer. And they don't smile friendly on foreigners coming in with business. It's really hard to do that. And then to navigate the language and the culture as far as buying things and what they like to buy and stuff like that. So it's easier to buy property, and the property is so cheap.
Yes, so, $6,000. That is amazing.
Yeah. Now this is what's happening too. The war, because a lot of people are moving out of Russia and the Ukraine, even though Russia is huge and Ukraine is not so big. There's an exodus of people, and it's affecting property value. So many people are telling my daughter and her husband that they are really lucky with what they paid for the
Wow.
property. Yeah, they're really
That is
lucky.
amazing.
But for anybody who is looking at moving abroad, and especially if you've never gone anywhere, start going places. There's a lot of discounts on Groupon. Just start experiencing other cultures and really be respectful and open when you go. We have around the world, we have this ugly American reputation where we can be very pushy and rude. And me and my daughter have been bending over backwards not to come off like that, and to be very gracious and smiling and open and receptive. And if you're going to turn your nose up at everything, just stay home. But know that things are going to be different. One thing I did do, Raquel, I had a suitcase full of contraband. My suitcases were lost for almost 3 weeks because when I traveled last June, there was a strike in Germany and it affected all the airlines in Europe, so it delayed and my suitcases got lost. We were so worried about it. We didn't care about nothing else. We wanted that suitcase full of contraband. It had Louisiana hot sauce. It had Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, Chick-fil-A sauce, ranch dressing. I'm getting ready to use my last box of ranch dressing right now. It had weaved hair, conditioner. Like we can use any kind of shampoo, but conditioner is hard for us. So it had conditioner. I mean, we just loaded it up with food stuff, Zatarain. What else? Jiffy cornbread. But that's what one of my friends sent us, some Jiffy cornbread mix and some other stuff. She sent us a care package. Hey, Marie, she gets to watch this. Yeah, but so little things I missed. The food culture here, they're meat and potatoes, cabbage. That's the kind of food they love. A meat and potato culture. And what else? Yeah, lots of meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
But it's very good. No pesticides, no GMOs. Yeah, because it's a farming community and they don't use a lot of pesticides and stuff.
Are there any recommendations, little nuggets that you can share with people who are making their decision right now that are like, it's been on my mind, it's been on my heart. I feel like now's the time. Anything that you would share?
I would recommend they join some groups. I'm with Black Americans Retired, and you can ask questions and talk to people who are already doing it. International Living is a good one that gives you information about visas and insurance, all kind of legal information and stuff like that. And then find a group if you're interested in a particular area. Find a group in that area, like expats in Honduras or expats in Panama, that kind of thing. Be sure and join a group and start asking questions and set up a timeline. Look at it and then set up a timeline. Also, even joining groups in the area that have traveled, people that have traveled, seek those groups out. And there's going to be naysayers, people that turn their nose up. And I know there's a lot of people that are leaving America because, I want a different experience. Black Americans need to go somewhere else. I didn't leave with that thought in mind. I spent a lifetime always exploring this and thinking, when I retire, I'm packing my bag and I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to go somewhere else. So be open and be careful who you share your information with, because there's negative everywhere. There's negative whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're in Tulsa, anywhere, Los Angeles, anywhere, you're going to find negative. And use your common sense. Stay away from those areas or whatever, and stuff. But stay positive and then just start getting rid of stuff. Even if it's 2 or 3 years down the road, start getting rid of stuff. Give yourself a timeline and really start working toward it. And know that things are going to be different. I think my daughter went through homesickness a little bit because she was here with the culture by herself with her husband and his family. But when I got here, she was already here. So I didn't experience it like she did. But she said, Mama, be careful. All of a sudden, you're going to feel homesick one day. And she said, I didn't want to go back, but I just felt, homesick and stuff. So I feel homesick for, like, there's no fast food. I think in Belgrade, the capital city, there you will find the McDonald's. They're everywhere. Good Lord, everywhere. You find them in Israel, everywhere. There's also a Starbucks, and but everybody cooks every day, and stuff like that. So we've been running around and trying to take care of things because it's a slow road sometimes trying to get things done. And we said, oh, I don't feel like cooking. I wish we could stop somewhere and get something, grab something to eat. But so that's one of the minor things. But there are bakeries on every corner, and people buy fresh bread every day. So it's so delicious. Woo! It's so delicious. Yes. There's a lot of people use bicycles and walk. So you see a lot of elderly people walking, carrying their groceries, going up and downstairs. So that was inspiring to see that. And they see me with this great white hair and my skin, and they look at me like, I wonder how old is she? She got all that gray hair, Another thing, let's see, smoking. It's a smoking culture. So if you don't like cigarettes, don't come to Serbia. In America, first day of school is a big deal. I mean, leading up to it, there's sales, there's this, there's that. First day of school here is no big deal. My little grandson got ready to go to school. I said, what? We're not doing this. We're not getting this. And my son-in-law goes, Mom, no, we just go to school. Then traffic lights are the opposite. A yellow light means get ready to go. In America, a yellow light means slow down and stop. So I had to get used to that. Dogs everywhere. And they're not spayed or neutered. Oh my gosh. So I walk around with a stick all the time. And most of them are friendly, but it's a shock to me to see them roaming like that. You do see people with them on the leash, but there's a large amount of them that I'm just not accustomed to seeing them roaming around like that, Let's see. If you go to take care of business, like here in the village, the post office is a one-stop shop. Get married, pay your taxes, pay your bills, everything you want to do. So the post lady knows everybody's business. She's like, she knows who pays their bills. She knows who's got some money coming in. She's like the nosy of the town. But Serbs are very honest, and they can be very sarcastic, but very honest in their facial expressions. They have what they call the resting bee face, like all the time. And as soon as we start talking to them, they start smiling and laughing. So don't let their faces or their facial expressions fool you. Let's see, most places don't have air conditioners, but if they do, they use them sparingly. They'll just be in there fanning and the air is not turned on. So, God, it's cold in here. We figure, too, people must be immune to greasy food and bread and potatoes because the food is so hearty and delicious, but they serve you a lot. So Sunday dinners are really big. And like yesterday, we had Sunday dinner. It was a lot of food. And I was eating like a little bit, and then they kind of get offended if you don't eat like a lot. So I go, okay. I don't eat the whole day. If we're going for Sunday dinner, I don't eat the whole day. If you are sick in America, you are obese in Serbia. You don't see a lot of obesity here. Yeah, so you see a lot of people walking on their bicycles and all of that. There are a lot of holidays. There are Orthodox Christian, and there's also Slavic churches too. So there's a lot of holidays. School closes, everybody's closes. You drink rakia and then you go to church. Isn't that funny? You drink this and then you go to church. Sundays are truly a day of rest. Yes, Sunday is truly a day of rest. You don't do anything, no digging in the garden or anything like that. So me and my daughter, we appreciate that, and we
Yeah.
appreciate the slower pace. You feel it. So I've had days where I didn't even know what day of the week it was because I want to really get acclimated to slowing down and not that whole hustle bustle.
Mm-hmm.
Another unusual thing is when somebody dies, they bury them the next day. So they'll lay in state in the house, they'll get them dressed, and within 48 hours, they're buried. And in the
Wow.
small villages, you'll see a walking procession to the funeral, to the graveyard. So we've had to stop a couple times when people were passing at funerals, and they don't spend all that money like, ooh, you have like a real simple funeral in America if you spent $10,000 or whatever, but here you hardly spend any money. And I said, I like that. What?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. So I really like that about the culture. Also, with their recipes, it is the recipe, and you don't go trying to throw this in it, throw that in it. If it's if it's their recipe, they truly honor that recipe, you know. So we respect that, and then we'll say they'll get used to our cooking. We'll say, well, we can throw everything in the pot, do this, you know, and stuff. So it's great. My daughter, she's learned to cook differently. The men in the family, my son-in-law's father and him, they are both really good cooks, and so I'm
Great.
being spoiled. They cook a lot. And what you don't see as you go around, you don't see a lot of ethnic foods. Like that's what I loved about Los Angeles. You can eat any type of food from anywhere around the world in Los Angeles, but here, no, you get Serbian food, and it's good. So we've gotten used to it. There are fruit trees everywhere, fruit and nut trees everywhere.
Oh,
So in front of the
wow.
house, yeah, in front of my daughter's house, there's 3 cherry trees, huge, delicious cherries. Yeah, and they have fig tree, and I think they have a peach tree in the back. What else? I think that's about it. There's a when you have ceremonies and stuff, there's a traditional dance called the kolo, and it's a lot of bouncing around. I mean, if you're not in shape, don't try to do it, or you'll pass out. So my daughter's been learning it because when you go to weddings and stuff, you do this dance, you
Okay.
know, and everything. So she's trying to learn the dance. Um, what else? Banks. When we go do our banking, like my daughter opened up an account, and she had a hard time because the banks don't like to do banking with Americans because it's a huge process for them,
Mm-hmm.
more so than any other country. So they kind of give
Wow.
you a hard time. Yeah, yeah. But you know, other than that, we do have the bank, and when you go to the bank, we learn not to do a conversion when you go. Just take out your money, and the
Okay.
the local, like we have the dinner here, and most other European countries are with the euro.
Mm-hmm.
And Serbia hasn't joined yet. They've talked about joining, and I'm kind of hoping they slow down on that because if they do, that means prices and stuff will go up here. It's amazing to go shopping for food. Food is fresh, no GMOs or anything like that, and it's just so cheap. You can really eat good for cheap. Eat good in a bad way, meaning you're going to eat too much, and eat good in a healthy way. Uh, and then one other thing, houses, many of the homes, because they're old and they're this brick style, they don't have closets. They have wardrobers. So we've had to get used to that. But because of what happened with our shipment and us being in a different mindset with things right now, we're becoming minimalist and just saying, you know what, we don't need a lot of stuff, and we want to just spend our time getting out and about and
Mm-hmm.
experiencing stuff. Oh, when you're stopped by the cops here, and if you are drunk, you can pay the police officer the fine, and you can get in your car and drive home.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and we were stopped. The officers, they'll stand instead of them like pulling up behind you. Most of the time, they stand on the side of the street, and they just stand, and then they'll get in the middle of the street and stop whatever car they want. And
Okay.
we were stopped once, and it was a big festival weekend. And right away, because we're accustomed to how it feels in America to be stopped, and especially if you're black, we were nervous. And then he just looked at my daughter's passport. We went to reach for her international driver's license, and he goes, "That's okay, you can go." And he waved us on,
Wow.
So yeah, so we've had good experience. And I think if you go anywhere acting arrogant and loud and raunchy, that's what you'll experience. But if you go with an open heart and an open mind and wanting to learn and grow and experience that culture, you will have a good time. You'll have a good time.
I love that so
So
much.
my daughter also has a website, globalgigsguru.com. And what she does is she researches companies and ways that you can work from anywhere in the world.
Awesome.
And her name is Iris Khan, and it's globalgigsguru.com.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your
Okay.
time, Miss Darlene. It was so, so, so nice to talk to you and hear your story.
Thank you. And feel free to call me anytime. We can talk on Facebook Messenger if you want to talk about kindergarten and got questions
Yeah,
about your son.
I
Yeah,
have all the questions, so I
I
really
would.
appreciate that. I
It is
do.
not a bother, so feel free.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time
Thank
today. It was
you.
great to hear about your journey abroad. If anyone who's listening today is interested in moving abroad and needs some help taking the leap, I am here to support you on your personal journey. Head to my website at www.yourbestlifeabroad.com for information on how to get started. Thanks again for joining us today, Miss Darlene. And there is no time like the present to
Thank
live your
you.
best life abroad.